story unfolds in the small, seemingly tranquil town of Cedar Pines, in a quaint house that I had just moved into. The house, an old Victorian building, had a charm that was overshadowed by a sense of lingering sadness, as if it held memories of a sorrowful past. The first few days were peaceful, but soon an unsettling feeling started to take hold of me, especially at night. It was then that I began to hear faint noises, a creak here, a sigh there, and most disturbingly, the sound of soft whispers emanating from the closet in my bedroom. I initially dismissed these sounds as the house settling or the whispers of the wind. But as the days passed, the noises grew louder, more insistent. One night, driven by a mix of fear and curiosity, I decided to investigate. As I approached the closet, the air grew colder and the whispers became clearer. I could now make out words, a plea, "Help me." My hand trembled as I reached for the knob, my heart pounding in my chest. When I opened the closet, a chill enveloped me, but nothing was there except for my clothes and some old boxes. Just as I was about to close the door, a cold breath whispered in my ear, and a faint, ghostly figure appeared in the corner of the closet. It was a young woman, her face marked by sadness and pain. I stumbled back in shock, my mind racing to make sense of what I was seeing. The ghostly figure reached out to me, her voice a haunting echo in the room. "Find my bones," she whispered, before vanishing into thin air. The next day, driven by a mixture of fear and an urge to help, I began to search for clues about the house's history. At the local library, I discovered that the house had once belonged to a young woman named Abigail, who had mysteriously disappeared many years ago. Her disappearance had remained unsolved, a dark blemish on the town's history. Determined to uncover the truth, I started to search the house, examining every nook and cranny. Eventually, my search led me to the basement, a place I had avoided due to its dark, oppressive atmosphere. In the basement, hidden beneath a loose floorboard, I found a small, locked chest. My heart skipped a beat as I pried it open. Inside, I found a collection of bones, small and delicate human bones. Alongside them lay a locket containing a picture of Abigail. Horrified, I realized the grim truth: Abigail's remains had been hidden in her own house. I called the authorities, and they conducted a proper burial for her remains. The town was abuzz with the closure of the long-standing mystery, but for me, the ordeal was far from over. That night, as I lay in bed, the closet door creaked open, and Abigail's ghost appeared once more. But this time, her expression was different. She smiled, a look of peace and gratitude on her face. "Thank you," she whispered, before fading away, leaving behind a lingering sense of serenity. From that night on, the whispers ceased, and the house felt warmer, as if it had been relieved of a long-held burden. Yet, the memory of the ghost in the closet, the cold whispers, and the sad eyes of Abigail haunted me, a stark reminder of the secrets that houses can hold, hidden in the shadows of their closets.
Now the second story.
The tale I recount is of my harrowing experience in Wraithmore House, a decrepit mansion with a history as dark as its shadowed halls. The house, set deep within a gnarled forest, had been left to me by an estranged uncle whose sudden passing was as mysterious as the life he led. Upon my arrival at Wraithmore House, the sight of it sent a shiver down my spine. Its towering structure loomed ominously against a gray sky, its windows staring like hollow eyes, and its grand doorway twisted slightly ajar as though beckoning me into its depths. The house was alive with an eerie quiet, a silence so profound it seemed to hum in my ears. As I stepped inside, a cold draft greeted me, carrying with it the faintest whisper, like a sigh from the depths of the house. I ventured further, each step echoed by the creak of the aged floorboards. The first night was restless. The house groaned and whispered, its voice a chilling lullaby that danced in the shadows. But it was on the second night that the true horror of Wraithmore House revealed itself. I awoke to a deafening scream, a sound so piercing it froze my blood. It seemed to come from within the walls themselves, a tormented wail that spoke of unspeakable agony. I rose, my heart pounding, and as I did, the room plunged into an unnatural darkness, the shadows coiling around me like living things. The air grew thick and heavy, filled with the stench of decay. I fumbled for the door, but my hands met only the cold, unyielding wall. It was then I realized the horrifying truth. The room was shrinking, the walls inching closer with a grinding, relentless slowness. Panic set in as the space grew tighter, the air more suffocating. The screams grew louder, now joined by other voices, whispers of despair, cries of pain, the laughter of insanity. They were the voices of the house, of the souls trapped within its walls. I screamed, my voice lost amidst the chorus of the damned. And then, in a moment of desperate clarity, I understood. Wraithmore House was not just a building, it was a prison for the tormented spirits that had been bound to it, a nexus of pain and suffering. With all my strength, I pushed against the closing walls, the whispers growing frenzied, the darkness enveloping me. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, the walls halted, the room bathed in a ghastly, spectral light. Before me stood the spirits, their forms twisted and grotesque, their eyes filled with an eternal despair. They spoke in unison, their voices a chilling echo. They told me of my uncle, of the rituals he had performed, binding them to his will, trapping them in the house for his dark purposes. The spirits implored me to free them, to break the chains that bound them to this mortal realm. It was a plea born of centuries of suffering, a desperate cry for release. Armed with this knowledge, I scoured the house, uncovering hidden rooms and secret passages, each one revealing more of the dark history of Wraithmore House. I found my uncle's journals, detailing his unholy practices, and within them, the key to the spirit's liberation. As I performed the ritual of release, the house shuddered, a scream of rage and pain tearing through the air. The spirits, one by one, were freed, their forms dissolving into light, their whispers fading into silence. When it was over, Wraithmore House was still, its oppressive aura lifted. I left the house behind, vowing never to return, its secrets buried within its now silent walls. but the memories of that night linger, haunting my dreams. The screams, the whispers, the desperate eyes of the spirits, they are a reminder of the thin veil that separates our world from the darker realms, and of the horrors that lurk, unseen, waiting in the shadows.
Now the third story.
My story begins with an inheritance, Eldridge Manor, a grand but neglected mansion that belonged to my late great-aunt, a reclusive figure about whom my family spoke little. Nestled in a secluded forest, the manor was a relic of a bygone era, its walls holding the secrets of generations. I arrived at the manor on a dreary autumn evening, the fading light casting long shadows through the gnarled trees. The building, with its towering spires and darkened windows, seemed to watch me, an unspoken warning in its silent vigil. The air was heavy with the scent of decay, the once magnificent gardens now overgrown with wild, twisting vines. As I stepped inside, a chill ran through me, not from the cold, but from the sense of something unseen, a presence lurking in the shadowed corners. The interior was a maze of corridors and rooms filled with dusty furniture and faded portraits that seemed to watch me with accusatory stares. The first few nights were uneventful, yet the feeling of being watched never left me. I would often hear faint whispers, the creak of floorboards, the rustle of fabric, but whenever I turned, there was nothing there. Then the hauntings began in earnest. It started with small, inexplicable occurrences, objects moving on their own, doors slamming shut, cold drafts in closed rooms. Each night, the activity grew more intense. I would wake to the sound of footsteps pacing outside my bedroom, only to open the door to an empty hallway. One night, I awoke to find a figure standing at the foot of my bed. It was a woman, her features blurred and indistinct, but unmistakably my great-aunt. She was staring at me, her eyes hollow pools of sorrow and anger. I blinked and she vanished, leaving me in suffocating silence. Determined to uncover the truth, I began to delve into the manor's history. I discovered that my great-aunt had been a medium, renowned for her ability to commune with spirits. But her journals revealed a darker truth. She had been obsessed with contacting a specific entity, a spirit she believed held the secrets of the afterlife. Her experiments became increasingly erratic, the rituals more disturbing. The last entry in her journal was a frantic scrawl, a warning of something she had unleashed, something that could not be controlled. Armed with this knowledge, I realized that the hauntings were not mere echoes of the past, but the result of a malevolent force unleashed by my great-aunt's meddling with the unknown. Each night, the hauntings grew more terrifying. Apparitions roamed the halls, their faces twisted in agony, their whispers a cacophony that filled the night. The air grew thick with the smell of decay, and the very walls seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy. In a desperate attempt to end the hauntings, I sought the help of a local priest, a man well versed in the paranormal. Together, we performed a cleansing ritual, hoping to banish the malevolent spirit. As we chanted the incantations, the manor shook to its foundations. A howling wind whipped through the rooms, extinguishing the candles and plunging us into darkness. The air was filled with the screams of the damned, a sound so terrifying it threatened to shatter my sanity. Then, as quickly as it had begun, it was over. The manor fell silent, the oppressive atmosphere lifting like a dark fog. The priest assured me that the spirit had been banished, the manor cleansed of its malevolent presence. I left Eldritch Manor soon after, unable to bear living in those haunted halls any longer. The manor stands empty now, a silent sentinel in the forest, its secrets locked within. But sometimes, in the dead of night, I still hear the whispers, the echoes of Eldritch Manor, a chilling reminder of the horrors that lurk beyond the veil of our understanding.